the next generation of lifestyle awareness that will transform your life significantly. Hi, welcome to Living Wow Out Loud. I'm your host, Callie Ray, founder of the Living Wow Center and author of the book, 8 Lessons Lupus Taught Me from Surviving to Thriving with Autoimmune Diseases. Living Wow is a lifestyle of choice and intention that was born from the truths that, number one, your body is designed to heal if you give it the environment to do so. Number two, you don't need a label or permission to be the expert in your own body. And number three, more than 80% of all diseases can be prevented or reversed by lifestyle. Unfortunately, this isn't what we're taught in our standard American diet and lifestyle culture. This podcast is a voice of hope and community where you will learn how to live a life of thriving that honors and embraces those 3 truths. Though you are an individual, you are not alone, and you can thrive living wow too. Welcome back to Living Wow Out Loud. I am your host, Callie Ray, and today I'm super excited to be talking about what's in your backpack. I feel like it's just timely. Everybody's going back to school. I love to teach with analogies. I'm a very visual and tactile learner and speaker and teacher. So as I was planning this podcast, I thought, you know what? It's time to talk about what's in your backpack and use this analogy that we're all going back to school. Now, you may be like me, an empty nester, and past that season of my life. I don't have anyone in my home that's returning to school this year, except for me, because I do teletherapy in the schools. So I am returning to school as well. My granddaughter is going back to school. But even if you don't have anyone that is going back to school that impacts you directly, you still can relate to this analogy. And you still know this time of year because you are driving around and you go through the school zone. You have to slow down a little bit more. You might be driving and you have a bus in front of you and you have to stop and wait for the unload or the load. So we all are affected by going back to school, even if we don't have a little in our home or maybe a bigger, maybe college. I guess I do technically have one that's going back to school, but since she's not living with me, it doesn't feel like it because I didn't have to buy her school supplies this year. But we're going to talk about school supplies today. We're going to talk about what typically goes into a backpack, and we're going to relate it to Living Wow and our lifestyle. So we're going to have some fun with this. I hope you'll bear with me and understand what the message is that I am sharing with you. I feel like when you have something to hang it on, it makes it easier to go, oh yeah, I didn't really consider that part of my lifestyle and maybe it needs a little bit more attention. So what are some typical things, some school supplies? And since we're on video as well as audio, if you're on audio only, then you can visualize. But I've got my backpack here, and we are going to talk about all the school supplies that you will find in your backpack. You're going to have an agenda book, right? So this is my agenda, my playbook and planner. So I'm going to make sure there's always an agenda in every back to school backpack. You're also going to have a notebook, pens and pencils and paper. Let's see, we've got our notebook here. We've got our pencils and pens. Make sure you've got some fresh erasers because you'll probably make some mistakes and you might want to have a redo for sure. How about highlighters? Highlighters, in this day and age, we have a lot of dry erase markers because we do a lot of writing and planning with dry erase, and we do a lot of highlighting things that are important to us. So we've got our highlighters in that backpack as well. And hopefully you've still got some of this going on with your colored pencils and your markers. Do you have your creativity tools in there? Maybe you're more a ruler and scissors, glue, those kinds of creative tools, but you've got some of those in your backpack, right? Everybody's got to have some creativity, art supplies in that backpack. How about your lunch? Did you forget to pack your lunch like I did today? Or do you have a lunch in your backpack? How about music, right? I've got either I could go wired or I can go wireless, but I've got some music options in my backpack because I'm going to want to have something in my ears when I'm on the school bus or when I'm walking to and from school, maybe at recess or at lunchtime. I'm going to have some tunes. I definitely have some sort of music in my backpack as well. I also have my phone. I got to have a phone in my backpack because how else am I going to communicate and let mom know that there's something? I actually just got a call from my daughter who said, we had an earthquake just now. How could she have told me that if she didn't have a phone? You've got to have a way to communicate in case there's an emergency, or maybe you just want to be texting your friends. There's that too. And finally, it wouldn't be a backpack for school if we didn't have our books. So do you have your book? Do you have your book in your backpack ready to learn and figure out what is going on in this class? Not in your backpack, but at school. I would be amiss to discount our friends and our teachers because that is the best part of going back to school is finding out who's in your class and what teacher you have. Who were you assigned? Is it who you wanted? Is it somebody that you don't really like or you heard they're really mean and scary? And are your friends in your class, or are they at least at lunchtime or the same recess so that you can see them throughout the day? All of those things are first day of school questions and things that are in our backpack. So as we go into it, we're going to now apply all of these different things that are in our backpack to our living our best life and using the things that are in our backpack. They're in there. We might as well use them. So we're going to start with our agenda, our planner. I'm going to grab mine down here because what my agenda does is it allows me to make sure I get the right things done. We use an agenda at school. We put our assignments in there. The first day of school, definitely we want to have our schedule in there. We want to know what classes we're going to and how to get there. Maybe it's a new school. I have a granddaughter who's starting middle school, and that's very fun and exciting. Also a little bit intimidating and scary because you're going from one class a whole day in a smaller building to multiple buildings and schedule that you change classes and you have to, what they call a passing period. You've got 5 minutes to get from one class to the next class. And so you've got to have your map and you've got to have your schedule. You need to know what it is you're doing. And that's no different than us who are not returning to school necessarily. We still need to have our schedule. We need to know what's going on today. And so in my playbook, monthly, I have an annual schedule. So I know long term at what's coming due. What do I need to have and turn in, and what assignments am I working on? And those assignments might look like content creation. It might look like deadlines for the next book or my podcast, but it's still an assignment and a deadline. And those are in my monthly calendar. And then in addition to that, I've got the daily. This is next quarter's playbook. So if I pull this one up, this is the one I'm actually working in today. So I can go to the today section and I have my weekly planner. And in that weekly, I can break it down by day. What are the assignments due? What are my top priorities? What are my various to-dos? Who am I going to connect with? People that I need to connect with. And any miscellaneous notes, things that come to me, inspiration, ideas, I can put those in here and then I've got them written down and I can follow up on them. So I've got some sort of agenda, some sort of schedule that I'm able to organize and keep things from getting away from me. You don't want to miss a due date. You miss an assignment, then here comes the test and you're not prepared for it because you didn't realize that it was coming. We apply these things in our daily life. I actually infuse my journal in here. This would be more like my notes in class. So I go to class and maybe I'm taking down the syllabus. It's the first day of class and I'm meeting this teacher and finding out what the agenda is in the class or what the perspectives and expectations are and the syllabus. I get that information down and then I can refer to it. I can go back to it if I need that daily. What are my takeaways? What are my focus for today? That's in my agenda, and that's how I use my agenda for Living Wow. I use it to help me stay on schedule, have a routine. We don't stay up it's time to go to bed because tomorrow's a school day. Has anyone ever said that or heard that? It's the same thing for us. Having our agenda, having a routine, having a schedule helps us get to sleep when we need to get to sleep, get up when we need to get up, accomplish the things we need to during the day, and make sure that our time is being well spent and not that we're going to school in our pajamas and not meeting our deadlines and our assignments. The next thing in our backpack would have to be a notebook. And to me, the notebook is that communication with getting it done. So the agenda, the planner, the playbook, that's the how-to. And then the notebook is the content. That's where you take your daily notes. I would recommend that you take that notebook and have it paired with your pen and your pencil. In your notebook, you might put your inspiration. You might put your gratitude. You might even put communication. Those might be some of the things that you're writing down throughout the day. You might be using your paper and pencil to send notes, to write thank yous, to journal your gratitude, and for inspiration, to write down those things that you don't want to forget. And I would encourage you, I think that we don't use this enough. Sometimes we have a hard time shutting off our mind and going to sleep at night because we're trying to solve the world's problems. And I would encourage you to write a gratitude journal or write in your notebook gratitude journal before you go to sleep, and then keep that pencil and paper next to you. I do it with my voice notes on my phone. It depends on what the situation is, but just a way to capture those thoughts, that inspiration. And then once you capture it, when it comes to you, you can record it and then you can be done. Know that you can get to it tomorrow, let it go, and then you're able to sleep and restore your body. Just a little nugget that I learned a long time ago, and it suits me very well to be able to capture it, write it down, because you'll think you're going to remember it and you won't. Some of it you might, but most of it you won't. So that inspiration is meant to be captured and acted on. Next, we have our highlighters and our dry erase markers. So these are the things that we need to focus on. This is where we are putting our energy, or we want to remember it and come back to it. We want to focus on it. In front of me, I have a dry erase board that has my battle board. It has my quarter with the big rocks, the big things that are opportunities or financial goals, activities that need to be done, the big rocks, the big check marks. It's in front of me where I can see it. I've got another one behind me, you might be able to see sitting there, that is my movement, my daily movement, accountability, making sure that I'm tracking what it is I'm doing. So again, dry erase markers to just keep me on track, and the highlighters to make sure that as I'm learning, I'm focusing on those nuggets and highlighting them so I can go back and reference them. I hope that you're using highlighters and dry erase markers in your life to help keep you focused. Next, the crayons and markers. The creativity. This is one that I think that we sometimes forget as we get older, especially when we're trying to live sad and we're trying to be responsible and do everything and be all things to all people. And we forget that we have talents and we need to exercise them and use them and practice them. I've got some colored pencils here and some markers. Maybe you have glue and scissors and rulers. Whatever it is, how do you like to create? What do you like to make? Are you using your talents? Are you exercising that God-given potential that you have and that outlet for that creativity? I've always said I'm not artistic. I love art and think it's so beautiful when people create it. And I'm always a little jealous of that. And then I realized, wait a second, I love to create. I tend to create with words more so than paints and chalk on a canvas. My creativity is in building businesses and frameworks and teaching and using words. I'm verbal. What is your creativity? How do you use it? And are you using it? The next thing in our backpack is lunch, and I forgot mine today. Did you pack a lunch or did you forget it? If you did pack it, what's in it? Are you eating bologna sandwiches with chips and soda? And how is that fueling you? Or did you pack a power bowl with an apple and some infused water? What does your food look like? What does your lunch look like? Are you taking time to fuel your body? Is it nourishing your body? Or is it just what was in front of you? It's convenience on the go, or it's what they're serving at school. It's on the menu. That analogy there. Look at your life and how are you eating? How are you fueling your body? Are you being intentional, or are you just eating what's in front of you because it's lunchtime, the bell rang, and that's what's available is the chips or the soda? How about what's in your ears? Why in the world would I add that in my backpack, and why does that matter? This is the analogy of what are you allowing into your ears? Is it noise and chaos? Or are you intentional about choosing things that are supportive? Does it make you want to move? Does it make you want to dance? Does it make you feel good? Or is it chaos and noise and it makes you anxious and stressed? Choosing the things that you're allowing. Maybe you need to put more music into your life and live a little more wow. Be intentional about the choices you're making of what you're listening to. Are you listening to the news and the anxiety and the fear that is sad? Or are you listening to beautiful music that just makes your soul sing and supports you and makes you feel good? Does it help you focus? Sometimes we listen to music to help us focus and drown out the noise that is around us. So I would encourage you to choose what's going into your ears, however you're choosing to do that, but to do it with intention to help you focus, to help you move, to help you feel that joy and excitement and drown out some of that fear and anxiety and noise and chaos that is coming at us through SAD all the time. Our phone. Everybody's got a phone in their backpack now. If you're probably 4th or 5th grade and above, those are the kids who are packing phones. You certainly, as an adult, have a phone with you. How are you using it? Who are you communicating with? Are you communicating with it? Are you having a deep and meaningful phone conversation with a friend? Or are you surfing social media and just at this superficial level, just comparing your backstage with everybody else's front stage? Maybe you're not even engaging on social media. Maybe you're just trolling around, snooping and watching what other people are doing, but you're not even engaging. Engage in your life. Engage in your relationships. Say something. Take it offline. Get deep. How are you using your phone? Is it distracting you? Or is it supporting you? If we've got our phone in our classroom, again, going back to the analogy of school, are you using it as a calculator and to research information? Or are you using it for Snapchat and TikTok and completely missing what your teacher is trying to teach you in that class? We can use our phones. They can be super supportive and powerful tools, or they can be an absolute time suck and distraction that is not supporting our wow life at all. Are we using it wow, or are we using it sad? It's just a choice, right? Are we doing what everybody else is doing, or are we being intentional with how we're using the tools that are in our backpack? Books. Hey, what are you learning about? I hope you're learning about living wow. I hope that you're learning things that make your life better, things that add value to both your life and then what you're paying forward and sharing with those around you in your world and your circles, your family, your friends, your community, your work, your church, your whatever it is that you are engaged in. I hope that you have some books that you are learning. They might be on Audible. They might be like my bookshelf behind me here. They might be book club or an online study. Maybe it's a curriculum that was given to you. Like when I was doing my nutrition certification, I still have those books and those resources that I go back to and access and use as a resource. So what are the books that you're learning? Why are you learning that? How are you applying it? And is it making a difference for you? So finally, that's everything that is tactile in our backpack. That's all of our school supplies and our phone and our lunch. That's all the stuff that's in our backpack to get us through our day. But what about the environment? What about the classes that we're in? What about the teachers and the friends? Let's take a zoom out to our bigger life and do that same question. Who are we learning from? Who are we teaching? Who are we surrounding ourselves with? Who are our friends? Who are we allowing to influence our lives? And who are we influencing? And is that intentional? Or is it just happenstance? It's just where you were assigned, where you landed, and you're just there doing your time. I hope that you are being supported, and I hope that you are being supportive. I hope that you are spending your time actively engaged in that classroom and not just there on your social media with the noise of the world going in around you, not using your talents, not building anything, but that you are engaged, you are learning, you are active, you are sharing, you are building relationships. This is a great time of year to do a little bit of a personal inventory and consider what's in your backpack. What are you using as your lifestyle tools? Is it what you want, or did you just throw them in? They were left over from last year and you didn't have time to get to the store and get new school supplies, so you're just using what's left. Really? Do you want to use leftovers? Maybe it was good enough last year. You thought it'll be good enough this year. But I'm going to encourage you to maybe step out of that step out of that autopilot. Get some new school supplies. Get a new environment. Get engaged and be intentional. Step out of that sad and just add in a little bit more wow so that this year can be your best year ever and you'll find yourself thriving, living wow, instead of surviving, living sad. So until next time, shine on. Hey, if you find value here on the Living Wow Out Loud podcast, will you please share it with your friends and take a minute to rate it on the platform that you're listening on? That's how we live wow out loud. You know that more people need hope and they need the messages shared. And that's how we get recognized among all the noise. This is where you find your voice. Will you please share and subscribe and rate so that we can grow?